Movies sometimes talk about real life events, and sometimes they have what may look like predictions and prophecies in them as well. And in this episode, I'm looking at 10 movies that had the deadliest viruses. So welcome back to another episode. My name is Leroy Kenton. And for this episode, I just gotta let you know that there will be some spoilers if you haven't seen any of these movies yet. So you have been warned. But let's just get into this episode. Starting at number 10, we have Planet Terror. Now, the virus in this film was the DC-2, and it was a weaponized mutagen, and it was a man-made virus that turns people into deformed, semi-intelligent zombies that seem to exist only to just kill more people and have the virus continue to spread. Now, the only way to prevent the effects of the DC-2 virus is to either cut off an infected limb or to ensure a constant intake of the virus just to prevent the spread of it. At number 9, there's also the Andromeda Strain, and the virus is the Andromeda Strain. It's actually an extraterrestrial organism though. Now, the Andromeda Strain has become a cult classic, and it's a deadly organism that's codenamed Andromeda, and it isn't actually a virus, but in the film it does act like one, and it's also originally identified as one by scientists in the film. Andromeda kills people very quickly by causing the blood to clot, and scientists, they discovered that the strain can be destroyed by alkalinity, flushing the organism into the ocean. Although at the end of the film, it makes you kind of wonder how effective that method actually was. Of course, we had to talk about I Am Legend. That comes in at number 8. It definitely kind of feels like the events happening today with everybody in quarantine and self-isolation. Like, even I'm filming this video in self-isolation. But in any case, the virus in the film is called the Crippen virus, and it's a re-engineered measles virus. And it's important to note the huge difference between the original novel of I Am Legend and the Will Smith film adaptation. So in the novel, the vampires aren't much different from normal people other than being unable to stay out in the sunlight. Now, the film, though, is a very rough adaptation, and instead it depicts the infected people as being almost superhumanly strong, as well as they act only on primal instinct. In the film, the virus begins as an attempt to cure cancer, and this ends up killing most of the population, and it leaves 9% of people transformed into the infected, as well as 1% of the population is immune. Number 7 is The Stand. Now, I do have to admit that this one isn't a movie, rather it's a mini series, but I had to throw this one in there because I thought it was pretty interesting. And the virus in this is called Captain Trips, and it's a weaponized flu kind of virus. And The Stand is based on a Stephen King novel, and it's a weaponized strain of influenza or the flu, and it was accidentally released by the military. Now, this virus manages to wipe out the entire military base where it came from, and it kills over 99% of the world's population in less than 2 months. Now, some of the survivors are able to form a little community. There is, however, also a demonic force that tries to spread even more chaos and terror among the land. And this is even after this virus causes so much devastation. So this miniseries has a whole lot going on in it. 28 Days Later comes next, and the virus is called Rage, and it's spread through saliva as well as blood. And now those infected by the Rage virus are transformed into horrific, monstrous beings that are able to sprint long distances and move quickly. So unlike many films, 28 Days Later does not present some kind of miraculous cure or an easy answer just to wrap up the film, but the Rage virus turns Britain into a desolate and dangerous place where the infected have become monsters and the survivors are actually losing what makes them human. Alright guys, so we made it halfway to this episode. We took a look at 5 films, well, 4 and 1 mini-series so far. But if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to leave a like on this episode. It lets us know which FTD Facts episodes that you want to see more of. Also, if this is your first time here to the channel, stay a while, grab a coffee, sit down. Well, you can't go anywhere anyways. You're in self-isolation. Hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, tune into FTD Facts every single day because we bring you daily videos where you're going to be learning something new. We usually talk about our world, cultures, religions, and the people within it, and sometimes we like to deviate a little bit and do fun episodes like this one. Alright guys, enough chit chat, let's get back into this episode. At number 5, we have 12 Monkeys. Now in the movie 12 Monkeys, the virus and the symptoms are unknown, but it's deadly to 99% of the entire population. 12 Monkeys is a satirical film set after an unknown virus has wiped out almost the entire human race. Starting back in the year 1996, the virus had spread across the whole entire planet, forcing people to live underground. Now, what was left of human civilization became super obsessed with why and how this virus actually managed to eliminate most of the Earth's population. And this leads to the discovery of time travel. So the virus itself isn't really the focus of the film, but of course it did have a big part to play in the premise of the movie. Moving on now to number 4, we have Rise of the Planet of the Apes, probably one of my favorite movies on this list. So in this film, we see the virus is called ALZ-113, and it's originally designed to be a cure for Alzheimer's disease. Now in the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it's revealed that it was ultimately a virus that was responsible for the decimation of the human race. Now, the end of the film is notable for really just demonstrating how easy it could be for a pandemic to spread across the entire planet after the virus is shown traveling across the world through international airlines. And as they say, viruses don't know borders. So to a virus, it's not like, oh, well, I'm in US, I'm just not gonna go over to Mexico or Canada. No, viruses, they just go. The movie Outbreak comes at number 3. Now the virus in this is called Motaba. Now Motaba is heavily based on the Ebola virus, and it has very similar symptoms and fatality rates as well. Now Motaba's virus originates in the continent of Africa, and it makes its way all the way to the United States thanks to an infected monkey. Now, while starting off as almost identical to Ebola, Motaba becomes even more deadly after mutating into an airborne virus. A team of scientists, however, managed to create, test, and cure the disease within the span of a few hours, which is kind of unrealistic, but hey, nevertheless, it was an enjoyable movie. We're getting down to the wire now. Mimic comes in at number 2, and in this, the virus, or Strickler's disease, is specifically targets children. A Mimic has a strange and unique premise. The virus is killing off the city's children, and the cure that scientists come up with ends up being worse. So Strickler's disease is being spread by cockroaches, and as a solution, scientists, they use genetic engineering to create a large insect that releases an enzyme to kill the disease-carrying cockroaches. Now, the lifespan and all-female population of these new genetically modified insects means that they should die off on their own relatively quickly, after of course they eradicate the disease infecting cockroaches. However, after this breed of cockroaches, years later, because of their accelerated metabolism, it allows them to mutate extremely quickly. So yeah, things get real messy, and you see the concept that what was intended to be a cure ending up to be even worse than the original disease is pretty interesting, I find. Hope that's not a prophecy of real life if they come up with a cure for this whole COVID stuff. And finally, at number 1, we have Contagion. Now, I put this at number 1 because the story is so identical to what we're experiencing in the world right now. Like, for real, this hit home. I watched it for the first time in self-isolation and I got chills. Now, although other films did have deadlier viruses, like I mentioned, I put this one at number 1, and the virus in this film is MEV1, and it's a SARS-like virus that causes vomiting, seizures, and brain damage. And Contagion is remarkable for just how creepily, if that's even a word, realistic it is in depicting how a virus can actually spread, as well as how the general population can react to this. Contagion shows that the panic accompanied by an epidemic can be more damaging oftentimes than the virus itself. The virus itself is particularly dangerous because it kills around a quarter of those who are infected by it. The initial symptoms of being affected by the virus resemble the common cold, and Contagion also demonstrates just how easy something like this can happen. Because at the end, it's revealed that a chef not washing his hand was ultimately the cause of the entire epidemic happening. All started with an infected bat, transferred to a pig, to a human who didn't wash his hands. Boom, Outbreak. I do recommend that one. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, and no, they do not sponsor this episode. Alright guys, so that was a look at 10 deadliest viruses in movies. Well, 9 in 1 miniseries if you want to get technical. Sound off down below in the comment section. Have you seen any of these films, and what were your thoughts about anything that I shared in this video? I look forward to reading your thoughts and comments down below. I'll also leave you with a related episode. It's going to be at the end screen, so I'm going to get out of here so you can enjoy that. Alright guys, I'm going to go continue doing some self-isolation, and I'll see you in the next episode.